And hello, welcome to Solo Playthroughs. It is time to play Shroud of Silent Mist. I've only been doing this for 14 months at the time I'm going to publish this. This has got to be the only video that I would ever say is anticipated on any real level. I've definitely been reached out to through comments and whatnot about this spirit more than anything else I've ever put on the channel, and wow, do I understand why. So the first few games I played of this spirit, I was like, holy cow, I do not understand it, and I am going to just be a disaster. And anyone that was hoping to get some glimmer of hope that this spirit can be played with any degree of efficacy is going to be severely disappointed by what they see me do. Having said that, I'm happy to report that I do feel like I have come to understand how to play this spirit better and how to get at least something resembling an acceptable win rate at even the higher levels of level, again, 3, 4. I don't know if I would take this much higher than that. It probably would depend a lot on the adversary. Initially, looking at the adversaries who I have left, knowing, again, who I played lore against, this is going to be filmed before I do the live playthrough of Many Minds. So we have the Kingdom of France, we have the Kingdom of Brandenburg, Prussia, and we have the Kingdom of Sweden. So I was initially thinking I would just go against Prussia because I feel like Prussia is the easiest of those three. But actually I've found in, again, not a ton of plays, but enough that Prussia might actually be the harder of those three in just how Shroud of Silent Mist works. That level 3 card that comes up really early with Prussia can be quite the challenge for Shroud as far as controlling blight enough early so that you can really get to that fear generation. So let me get right to story time with Greg, and we'll go from there. So Shroud of Silent Mist, a spirit of dissolution and the cold silence of death, creeping quietly down from the hills and across the open waters. Its trail is adorned with dew-covered leaves and the bones of small animals. Some legends say Shroud of Silent Mist came from the final breath of a Dahan spirit speaker who spoke too freely of secrets entrusted to him, for which his soul form was afflicted with a death-bringing curse. Others claim it was born from legends and tales rather than from any actual person, for the story of Kadora shows that human and spirit do not so readily transform into each other. So you're going to have two presents. One's in the highest numbered wetland, one in the highest numbered mountain. It moves presence around the board like crazy, which is one of its really big selling points. It's a good fear generator, decent with offense, and it has some really good mechanics for control and defense to go along that. So it's a very, very, very interesting spirit. The thing that really kind of opened Shroud up for me was when I started to treat it as if I was playing with Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares and just chasing fear, not trying to destroy cities, understanding that Blight's going to be out there early with anything that has a city, and then kind of stumbling along and hoping that the fear cards give me what I need to continue to make progress against the adversary enough that I can get a fear victory. That said, with Shroud, if you're chasing a fear victory, with Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares, generally if you're chasing a fear victory, because that's your only chance of winning, with Shroud you actually can stumble into a terror level 2 or a terror level 3 victory. Terror level 2 would be hard at the higher levels, but definitely terror level 3 is not impossible, because of the way that the damage really can start to stack on all the adversaries all across the board. And again, that fear generation, as you get into the round 4, 5, 6, if you're playing this well and things are working, I mean, you could be generating 4 or 5 fear a turn during the time passes phase. All right. So let's get into the special rules. Special rules. Gather power from the cool and dark once per turn. When you gain a power card without fire, I guess they're using fire to indicate light, you gain 1 energy. All right, mist, shift, and flow. When targeting a land with a power, you may gather one of your presence into the target or an adjacent land. This can enable you to meet range and targeting requirements. That's massive. All right, because it doesn't even have to go to the target land. It can go into the adjacent land. And you'll see having your presence spread out is really important, in large part because of the next special rule. And that next special rule is slow and silent death. Invaders and Dahan in your lands don't heal damage. And during time passes, you get 1 fear, max 5 per land of yours with damaged invaders, and you get 1 energy per 3 lands of yours with damaged invaders. You can see why you want to have your presence spread out, and using all your powers to keep it spread out so you can maximize that benefit is really important. With growth options, it's a pick 1 spirit, and you'll notice I've started to use a colored disc to indicate which growth option I do. I think it just helps track what's going on in the videos. So the first growth option is reclaim cards, gain +1 power card. The second growth option is add 2 presence. The third growth option is gain a power card, add 1 presence within 3 of where you have presence to a mountain or a wetlands. I will be doing this option as much as possible. Growth option 2 is really, really, really important. Your presence tracks are both interesting. You have the energy track is 0 energy to start the game, then 1 energy, water element, 2 energy, air element, and then your card play track is 1 card play to start the game, 2 card plays, move a presence, moon, 3 card plays, 4 card plays, reclaim 1, and 5 card plays. It is another spirit that I generally, in a true solo game, do not end up taking major powers, because when things are going well, you want a lot of card plays, and you want a lot of card plays that are unlocking your innate powers. They are very, very important. What are those innate powers? Well, Suffocating Shroud is the first one. It is a slow power, range 0, target land any. Now remember, range 0, but you can, when you're targeting a land, you can move your presence into that land to satisfy the targeting requirement. It's really cool. If you have 1 moon, 2 air, and 1 water element, you do 1 damage. If you have 2 moon, 3 air, and 2 water elements, you stack, you do 1 damage, and then in addition, you can, for each adjacent land with your presence, do 1 damage to a different invader in the target land. If you have 4 moon, 4 air, and 3 waters, you do an additional damage. And I'm not going to worry about the last level because, frankly, we're not getting up to that. Lost in the Swirling Haze is the other special power, innate power, I should say. It is a slow power, range 0, target land any. You need to have presence, or you need to be able to gather a presence in using mist, shift, and flow. If you have 1 air and 2 water, push up to 1 Dahan. If you have 2 air and 3 water, push up to 2 explorers and towns. And if you have 3 air and 4 waters, push up to 2 explorers and towns. No, I'm sorry, not towns, Dahan. I do that every once in a while. Whenever it's explorer / Dahan, my brain interprets that as explorer / town, but no, it's explorer / Dahan. So the nice thing about Lost in a Swirling Haze is often I will use it not because I really want to push a Dahan, but I want to target a land that's going to allow me to use mist, shift, and flow to get a presence into that land. So I will often use this and target a land even with the level 1, and I'll target a land that doesn't even have a Dahan in it just so I can get a presence in there. All right, let me move this off the board. We'll go through the unique powers later, but I do want to get the rest of setup. So a couple of changes to what I've got going on here. I think they're both going to be, well, one was just practical. One I think is a positive change. I have raised my light source pretty significantly, and I think that's giving it a much smoother appearance on the screen here. I am looking into getting lighting behind me at some point, and we'll see how that goes. But for now, this is coming together pretty nice. So any comments on that, I would love to get it. Additionally, you'll notice I have sleeved up my event deck. The event deck was starting to show some wear. Sleeved it up. I have ordered a box of nice clear sleeves. I don't own any until now, or until I get this box, but some of the cards were really frayed at the corners in a way that I didn't really want to wait. I might switch out the red for the clear when I get them. I probably won't because, you know, who wants to do that? But I will be sleeving up these fear cards and the Blighted Island cards when I get the clear sleeves as well. All right, I will shuffle the fear deck. And then I will shuffle up the powers. So I've got to say, I mean, Shroud's been impressive to me. I've managed to beat Prussia, I beat Sweden, I beat England, and I beat France on level 4. That really surprised me. And then when I played against Habsburg level 4, Russia level 4, didn't really feel like I had a chance. Again, I feel like both of those, Habsburg level 4 and Russia, really do present a very different game, more than the rest of the challenges the adversaries present. And then Scotland, I think I only tried once at level 4. It didn't go well. I think it was more just the way the invader cards came out. I don't know if I have a real sense of how Shroud would normally fare against Scotland. I do think that I don't see why he wouldn't do fairly well against Scotland if I were to give that a couple of tries. So that is about that. So the minor powers are shuffled. The major powers are shuffled. Again, I keep my minor powers in green sleeves. I keep my major powers in blue sleeves. I will keep them up here. And we can figure out what board we're going to be on. I rolled a 1. We'll go to board A. Why not? We'll do that. And now I got to figure out my adversary. My adversaries are on the table. So I have 1 or 2 will be Brandenburg, Prussia. 3 or 4 will be Sweden. And 5 or 6 will be France. Vive la France! All right, let's do it. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to put the Slave Rebellion card under the under the top 3 cards of the event deck. So that is there, and we have the Explorer here, and we have the build hither. Cool. So France, it's been a while. Again, the additional loss condition is that if before setup you have to return all but 7 of your towns to the supply, and if you never need to place an 8th town and you don't have it, you will lose. That is my biggest fear against France with Shroud, in that again a lot of times you are keeping buildings on the board because you're generating energy and fear, well definitely fear and hopefully energy too later in the game off of them. So you do have to make sure you're monitoring your building supply pretty regularly here with France. Again, when they explore into a land that does not have a town or a city, what does France do? It explores with a second explorer. And when you're building, again, these are all the level 4 escalators in no clear order. When you're building into a land that has more than 1 explorer, all but one of those explorers is replaced with a town. And then finally, the last thing that really starts to eat into that town supply, which is so limited to begin with, is if you build a coastal city, you will also have to build a town in the adjacent land that has the fewest, the adjacent land that has the fewest towns. So that is one of the escalators that if I'm going to forget an escalator, that is one I commonly forget. And it's super annoying, but I think it's finally should be ingrained in my brain enough that I shouldn't have a problem remembering it today. All right, so level 4, the fear deck is going to be 4, 4, and 4. So I tell you what, man, like this is the one. Like this is like the one video I'm like, man, I better get this one right, because again, I know how many conversations I've had about Shroud over the last few weeks and months. It's been hilarious seeing the questions and like, oh, have you played Shroud yet? And like, nope. And I went with the randomizer, and my randomizer said do this next to last, and I was not upset. All right, so I'm taking out a 3. The invader deck itself is pretty vanilla. We just have the normal 3 level 1 cards, 4 level 2 cards, and 5 level 3 cards. The escalation for France can be pretty brutal with the level 2 cards. It will add a blight, or it will add a town. Both of those are going to be bad news for Shroud probably, so we'll see what our choices are and if we have a choice as we go to try to make obviously the best choice based on the situation at hand. All right, I'm just going to give these a quick shuffle. I do roll my D20 that rolled on a 7. I have, again, there's 16 cards here, so number 7 will be the Healthy Island card. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and here is card 7. So that is now our Healthy Island card. That gets 2 blight. How are we going to do setup? Again, against France, there will be a town in land 1. There's also going to be a beast. There's going to be a disease, and that's the lowest number land without a pre-printed setup icon. There is a disease in land 2, along with a Dahan, along with a city. There's going to be 2 Dahan in land 3, a blight in land 4, a Dahan in land 6. There's nothing in land 5. There's going to be a town in land 8, and then there's going to be a town in the highest number land that does not have a town, and that is going to be land 7. So again, we already have 3 of our 7 towns on the board. That's super fun. Let's get our buddy Shroud back in here. He's gonna, ooh, creepy. With his little mist form, he'll just kind of float into there, and we're gonna put a presence in the highest numbered wetland and a presence in the highest numbered mountain. So that is that. I think that is all set up. Done, 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 done. All right, cool. We are going to do our initial explore as the final act of setup. We are getting a town. I'm sorry, that is not a town. That is a explorer there, and we'll get an explorer here. Cool. So my first growth option, I am going to do growth option 2. This is pretty much how, and I use this as a reminder at the end of the round. So I'll put this down here. So this is my standard Shroud opening. This is what I've done ever since my 4th or 5th play, and I just found it the most effective way for me to get started with this spirit. I only want 1 card play this first turn. The way these cards are, there's not much benefit of getting more than 1. And again, you're only going to have 1 energy anyway. So I'm going to take off 2, and I'm going to put these 5s pretty nice and central. So I'll do that there. And I mean, that's not ideal getting across 4 to get down at the 3, but we'll have to figure out how we want to do that pretty quickly. And so I added 2 presents to a land where I have presents. It unlocks a water element, and I'm going to play. I get 1 energy from the energy track. I have 1 card play from the card play track, and I am going to play The Fog Closes In. So let me talk about these unique powers. The card I'm playing this round, it costs 1 energy. It has a moon, it has a sky, it has a water. It's a slow power, range 0, target land any. For each adjacent land with your presence, 1 damage to a different invader, push to Dahan. The other cards I have, there are 2 fast, there's 2 slow. So this slow, and the other slow power is Dissolving Vapors. It has a sky and a water. It's a slow power, range 0, target land any. You'll get used to hearing that. It generates 1 fear off the top, 1 damage to each invader, 1 damage to each Dahan. All right. The next power is Flowing and Silent Forms Dart By. It has a moon, it has a sky, it has a water. Fast power, range 0, target land any. I told you. 2 fear if invaders are present off the top. And then when presence in target land would be destroyed, its owner may, if possible, instead push that presence. It also says you may gather 1 presence or sacred place of another spirit with their permission. That does not apply to you. All right. So if a card says target another spirit in a true solo game, you can use it to target yourself, but anything additional like that that's on the card, that same rule doesn't apply. So I can't I cannot be another spirit there. I can only change a targeting from another spirit to myself. I'm pretty sure about that rule based on what I've looked up. If anyone has an official answer that says otherwise, I definitely would like to, you can feel free to please do correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure that that's right. What I just said is that last part basically is irrelevant in a true solo game. Trust me, you'll be generally moving around presence so much anyway, you really won't need to do that very much for that. So that's that. And then finally, the last unique power costs 1, Unnerving Pall. It has a moon, it has a sky, it has an animal tag, fast power, range 0, target land. any land with invaders. And it generates 1 fear off the top. So it's an or. So you have 2 possibilities here. It generates 1 fear off the top and up to 3 damage. Invaders do not participate in Ravage. I'll be doing that a lot. Or a lot when I play this card. Or every once in a while I might use this card for 1 fear, defend 1 per presence you have in target land. And that is calculated when the power is used, what that defense is. All right. So you can't be like, oh, defend 4 and then I'm going to move 3 spirit off. Meet 3 presence off, because you're actually reducing that defend. So it's how much presence is in the land at the time the defense is needed. All right. So I have played the Fog Closes In. We're going to go to my elements. I got the 1 water from the track, and I have the 1 water from the card. So this gives me 2 water, and I have 1 sky. So that does allow me to unlock the higher level, the first level of Lost in the Swirling Haze. Cool. Let's go to the invader. I have no fast powers, so we're going to go to the invader phase. The rules of Jagged Earth, that just flips over. So we know that in the 3 rounds from now, we will have the Slave Rebellion card. So we're going to want to make sure we remember that. Oh, forgot to Dahan. I don't know. I just started this forgetting Dahan mess that I'm on. And that's not a good, that is not a good habit to get into. All right, we are now going to go to the invader steps. The invaders are going to build. Again, they don't have a Ravage the first round, so they're building a city there. They're building a town here, and now we exploring into mountains. So there is a town in land 1, so we only get 1 explorer, but we get 2 explorers into land 2. All right, invader cards advance. And now I'm going to think how I want to do this. So I have a couple options. One option is that I just eliminate both of those explorers and prevent the building of 2 towns next turn, right? That would make some sense. But this is building a city. You know, some kind of fast power would be ideal to like maybe pick off one of those explorers. The other option is I try to prevent blight, and then I get a presence close to here, and maybe I can pick up a defend card. So I think I'm going to try to prevent a blight in 8, right? And you'll see how this works. So I'm going to do the Fog Closes In. I'm going to move a presence in using Mist, Shift, and Flow. All right. Now for each adjacent land on my presence, there are 2. I do 1 damage to a different invader. So I'm going to damage the city, and I'm going to damage the town. Push 2 Dahan. That is not optional if there were Dahan, but there are no Dahan there. And then I want to get a presence closer to land 3. So I'm going to use Lost in the Swirling Haze. I'm going to target this land. Well, all right, I don't have presence there. Well, now I do. And Mist, Shift, and Flow. I'm going to push a Dahan, push up the 1 Dahan. There are no Dahan, but I just wanted my presence over there. All right. That is the end of my slow powers. Time passes. Okay, what's going to happen with time passing? Well, during time passes, I get 1 fear per land of mine. So a land where I have presence that has a damaged invader. So that is 1 fear for that land. I obviously only have 1. I don't have 3, so I don't get any energy, but I'll take that 1 fear and we'll go from there. All right, so we now go to our growth options. I'm going to hopefully get lucky and pick up a defend card. All right, a defend card early. There's a lot of these spirits in Jagged Earth that if you get a defend card early, it really opens up the rest of the game for you. If you don't, you don't. So I know I think I've said this with Starlight. I think I've said it with Fractured Days. That especially the higher complexity spirits, really trying to get a defend card early can be really helpful. There are times that I like the growth option 2, and I'll do it back to back. I think this is one of those games I'm going to want to do the growth option 3. So I'm going to add a presence to a mountain or a wetland. I know that, so I don't know where I want to put this yet. First, let me see what my power card is. My 4 options. So again, I really want to get power cards that do not have fire, because that gives me that extra energy. So strong and constant currents. It allows me to push up to 1 town or explorer to an adjacent coastal land. I can move, or I can move up to 2 Dahan between target land and 1 other land. And if I have 2 waters, which I will, I could do both things. All right, that could be a really interesting card. We'll see. Next, Uncanny Melting. It is a slow power, 1 away from where I have a sacred place. If invaders are present, add a blight. You get a fear. Generate a fear. If target land is a sands or wetland, remove a blight. Really like this card. It's not... I would like this card later. So I like the fact that it has a moon. It does some things I like. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to take that one this time around. All right. So what's this? Soft. Set them on an ever twisting trail. So it has a sky, which is nice. It's a fast power, 1 away from where I have a sacred place, target any land, gather or push 1 explorer, and then isolate the target land. That's interesting. And then Teeming Rivers. It's a slow power, 2 from where I have a sacred place. If target land has no blight, add a beast. If target land has exactly 1 blight, remove it. So that's the least. These two, I'm not gonna. I love the idea of removing blight. Unfortunately, I don't think is gonna be all that helpful for me. Well, maybe. So part of me is interested if I move that guy so it doesn't build a double town. Not sure if I want to get something that just gives me coastal lands. That blights. I might get lucky there. Neither of them's a really big fear generator, so there is that problem. So the reality is that moves blight from wetlands or mountains, but again, that's not going to help. Do I try to get the moon, or do I try to get the... I like having that sky. And isolate might not be the worst idea. So I only build 1. Yeah, I don't want to build 2 towns there right off the bat. And that builds a city that's also building another town. So that'd be all my towns out right off the bat, which is super bad. Hopefully I get one of those events that the beastie can do some damage for me. If I get an event that gives extra damage to the invaders, I mean, it's just game over. I'll really stop and I'll reset it and we'll film all of it, to be honest. All right, let me get that sky because it will allow me to do some things that I want to do here. So yeah, these go away. Wish if I had sky and wetland water, that'd be better, but it doesn't. That's fine. So those go away. So I got a power card that doesn't have a fire. So I get that energy, and I'm gonna play set them on an ever twisting trail and unnerving pall. By the way, so I open up a second card play. I do have to put that presence on the board, and the presence track can get the energy. So I'm gonna put this second presence here because it'll give me the sacred place to that. Now, alternatively, I could put it here, and then just to kind of show how the mechanics of this works, I could say I want to target that land. Cool, I'll put it in an adjacent land, and now that gives me the sacred place. That is totally legit. This is a very dynamic special rule. All right, so I'm going to pay for both of those. I put this here for the sacred place. I'm going to gather or push 1 explorer. Let me do this. This is a little... It's better, instead of isolating that land, that makes no sense. I'm going to gather into this land. Oh, that makes it even better. Yeah, let me put the sacred place here. I'm going to target land 5. Let me gather into this land and isolate it, why that makes sense is that if this is a stage 1 card, so it's either going to be sands or it's going to be wetlands. If it's wetlands, the last thing I want is 3 explorers in there, because again, if they build there, that's going to be a lot of towns. So I'm going to isolate that and try to prevent the exploring into land 5. All right, so there's a lot of weird benefits of that card. Oh, let me do the elements. I have 1 moon, I have 2 air, and I have 1 water, which does give me the first level of suffocating shroud. Cool. Which is a slow power, so we'll come back to that. So my other fast power is I get 1 fear off the top, and I can target a land where I have presence, and up to 3 damaged invaders do not participate in Ravage. So I'm going to put a green on here to remind me, and these 2 invaders just will not participate. So that means if I had Dahan there, the Dahan couldn't like fight back and destroy them. It's like literally they're just out of the Ravage. They are not at all taking part in anything, any part of the Ravage action, including Dahan fighting back if the Dahan were there. All right, so that's that. Let's go to the event card. We have stage 1. If the island is healthy, choose a land with cities or towns, ravage there. Well, it's going to ravage here eventually anyway, so I don't know how that rule works. I assume that lasts for the whole turn, so I could have it do there or there. I mean, I'm looking at the rest of this card. I might as well have it ravage here because it's going to do it eventually. So we're going to ravage this land. So we get a blight in land 3. It destroys one of my Dahan. This Dahan survives and retaliates and wipes out that town and puts the town back on the supply. I generate 1 fear for that. All right, destroy 2 explorers among land with beasts. And then in each land with 3 or more Dahan, I don't have any such land, so that Dahan event is just ineffective. That's again, the Explorer's Blunder was the token event, and Coordinated Strikes was the Dahan event. We are now going to go to the Invader steps, ravaging in the jungles. So we're going to now ravage again in land 3. It does 1. The Explorer does 1 damage. It doesn't hurt the land. And now the Dahan are injured, and they fight back and destroy that Explorer. And then they're going to ravage again in land 8. However, it's only doing 1 damage because these 2 injured towns and the town and city is not taking part in the ravage. Now we go to the build step. We're building a town in land 6. We're building a city in land 5. And now we go to the explore step. We're exploring into sand. So of course I did not pull the wetlands, so my grandiose plans did not go as planned, as I hoped. We get 1 explorer into land 7, and we get 2 explorers into land 4. Invader cards advance. I have 1 slow power. I can do 1 damage in a land where I have presence. I will do 1 damage. I'm going to target with Suffocating Shroud. I'm going to target land 2. I'm going to move a presence into it to make that happen, and then I'm going to do 1 damage to that wetlands, the city in that wetlands. I always find it makes the most sense to do damage to the cities because they're going to be there for a while, and that just it's fear generation, and eventually it'll be money generation with how Shroud plays. So time passes. So I have my time passes ability. I'm going to do that now. I have 2 lands that have injured towns and cities, so I get 2 fear. So there's going to be a remainder of 1, and I do not get any energy because I only have 2, not 3. That will come back here. All right, so we're probably going to Blighted Island, which is it just is what it is. So I'm gonna remove these 2. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I'm going to remove these 2. I'm going to do growth option 2. I can add, so the isolate goes away. I can add presence. So there's 3 towns on that. Oh, wait. I built a city here. I had to add a town to the land with the fewest. I would have added it. Here. I told you that's the one. If there's a rule I'm going to forget, it is that one. I do not know why, but my brain just cannot wrap its head around it. So yeah, so I would have done that. So you're seeing where I'm at. Like, yeah, and if I had a good defend card, it's fine. I could try to get another defend card. Honestly, I'm just gonna go blighted, and I'm just gonna hope that it's something that I'm picking up a defend card next turn. I have to hope these fear cards help me, and I have to hope to get a little lucky with the events and the fears. And remember, next round too, I'll be able to do the strife thing and knock out a town with the slave rebellion. Oh, when time passed, this Dahan would have healed because I do not have presence there. So it's only the lands where I have presence that nothing heals. If my presence moves, the towns would heal, the cities would heal, and the Dahan would heal. All right, so this could get a little ugly. So let's hope for the best here. I'm gonna put 2 presence in land 5. So yeah, I have 3 towns. I have 2 towns in that now. Oosh. Oh, and that invader card is gonna be bad. Okay, it's gotta hope for the best. All right, so I do get to move a presence because of that. I'll move a presence into 7. I get 2 energy because of the presence track, and I'm going to play Dissolving Vapors and Flowing and Silent Forms dart by. So, Flowing and Silent Forms dart by, I'm going to get 2 fear off the top. I'm going to target land 6. It gives me 2 fear off the top, and then if my presence would be destroyed there, I can actually move that presence before it gets destroyed. Yeah, and I used that move presence because of the track to move down at the 7. Cool. So let's hope to get a little bit lucky here. All right. Numinous Crisis. The spiritual energy of the island weakens as life's connections grow ever more tattered. I have 2 options here. My first option is I could draw strength from it while I can. I have to remove 1 blight from the blight card. Then if the blight card is not flipped, keep removing until it flips. Gain 3 energy per blight removed, divided as evenly as possible among all spirits. No thank you. The other option is pour your strength into the island. I can pay 3 energy, forget 2 powers, or return 1 of my presence to my track. Yikes. And then I add 1 blight per spirit to the blight card from the box. Let me do that. I'm going to add this presence. Well, I'll move from the sacred place. I don't need a sacred place right now. So I'm going to move. I'm going to return 1 of my presence to my tracks. I'm going to put this back on the move a presence thing, which is actually is that fine? No, it might not be fine. I'm going to cover up the 2. This way I can actually get to 3 card plays in 2 turns. And there's other ways I can get some energy with Shroud. So that's fine. So I add a blight to the Healthy Island card. Now we move from there. So 1 fear per board with disease. So that gives us a 2nd fear card. I do someone commented, I know that's still somebody. Again, the way the Spirit Island rule book says, they want you to keep the fear cards in order. So they says put them on top and then flip the whole thing over. It never worked for me, so I just put the new fear cards underneath the fear cards I already earned, and then I flip them over one at a time. If that's tilting, I'm sorry. It is what it is. I never said that wasn't weird, just for the record. All right. So 1 fear per board with disease. On each board, 2 damage to Dahan in a land with disease. So this Dahan goes bye-bye. And then when invaders ravage in a land with Dahan, oh, nice. Invaders ravage in a land as Dahan, defend 2. That works out very nicely for me. Especially since it's added that blight, we will not be going blighted island, which is kind of a miracle. So careful defense. Need to get a little lucky with Shroud, and I will take it. Now, remember, we've already generated 8 fear. So again, in going for a fear victory, there are 12 fear cards. So if I can generate 48 fear, we win. I've already generated 8. So I'm a 1/6 of the way there, and I haven't even gotten going yet, right? So you see how this stacks. And once you get to terror level 2, remember, those fear cards are better and better and better and better. So this is normal. This looking like chaos is totally normal. This spirit is very, very strange. All right, in a very cool way. So terror level 1, first fear card, isolation. Each player removes an explorer or town from a land where it is the only invader. Well, this would be an example of not getting lucky, because again, one of the things that France does is almost guarantees you that there's never one place with 1 invader. So this would have been the only place with an invader if I didn't have to do that escalation because of that city. So yeah, that was all sorts of not great. All right, and then each player, oh, come on. Flee the pestilent land. Each player removes an explorer or a town from a land with disease. I totally could have put this guy here, but remember, I wanted to rethink it, because I would have had to put that town there when I built, so I wouldn't have known what the Explorer card was. And I would have put it in inner instead of making the coast an absolute mess when you know that the level 2 cards have a lot more problems for the coast often. But that was bad. Oh, that was really bad. Whatever. All right, so we're ravaging. We are ravaging in land 6. Now, I'm not going to lose a presence, so this flowing and silent forms dart by can go away. I'm defended 2. They're ravaging 3. That injures the Dahan. The Dahan retaliates, and I will wipe out that town. I might think about only doing 1 damage to the town, but obviously we got some issues with our town supply. So at this point, again, this is where France kind of makes you not exactly optimize what normally makes Shroud tick in the best of ways. We're putting a blight onto land 1. We are going to the build step. We're building a city in land 7. We're building a town in land 4. Oh, there's an explorer. That goes away. We have another town in land 4. Hey now. That's a bad card. That's a really bad card. All right, we are exploring into sands. So after the explore step on each board, if there was not a town, we could add a town, or town or city, we could add a town. But since there's towns and cities in both, we have to add a blight to 1. So I'll add a blight here that does destroy this presence, and we are blighted island anyway. All right, the blighted island card is erosion of will. It is 3 blight per player, immediately 2 fear per player, and each spirit destroys 1 of their presence and loses 1 energy. Well, I don't have the energy to lose, so that's fine. But I will destroy a presence. I will destroy. Don't want to move that presence. I'll destroy this presence because I can. And now invader cards advance. Okay. I never figured out my elements. I have 1 moon. I have 2, and I have 3. So my innate powers, I do have the first level of Suffocating Shroud, and I have the 2nd level of Lost in a Swirling Haze. Yowza. Okay, I am going to do Dissolving Vapors. Yeah, I really need a defend card is what I need. Again, one of the reasons of destroying that presence, now that will heal again in the end of the round. But all right, so Dissolving Vapors, I can get 1 fear off the top. I'm going to target land 4, do 1 damage to each invader. So that's fine. 1 damage to each Dahan. There are no Dahan. That's done. I want to target land. This could work. I'm going to target land 7 was Lost in the Swirling Haze. So to do that, I can bring that in. I'm going to push up to 2 explorers. I'm going to push both of these into land. Well, I'll push 1 into land, 1 into land 8, 1 into land 5, and then I'm going to do Suffocating Shroud. I do 1 damage. I'll do a damage to the city. All right, time passes. Yeah, you need fear cards that work, and having 2 fear cards in a row that just didn't work. That's usually it's a bad turn of events for Shroud. But time passes, so let's see if we can't turn this around. I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 fear. So again, that's just a fear card, and now we have 2 fear cards for next turn in Terra level 2. Great. Also, since I had 4 lands that had injured, this would heal because my presence isn't there anymore. And since I had 4 lands that had injured things, I do actually get 1 energy from that as well. And then I'm going to get 1 energy from the presence track. Great. Growth option 1, reclaiming cards, gaining a power card. I really pretty much need a power card that does not have a fire. So Unquenchable Flames has a fire. 1 fear, 1 damage to a city or town. Invaders do not heal. They already don't heal, so that's useless. Scream Disease into the Wind. Target spirit gets +1 with all their powers. Once this turn, if the target spirit uses a power targeting a land, they may add a disease to that land. Hand them a disease token. It has a sky and a water and doesn't have a fire. That is an awesome, awesome, awesome card that I will probably be taking. Sucking Ooze is a fast power. 2 fear if invaders are present. Isolate target land. Not sure that does everything I need it to do, although again, isolate can be pretty strong. And then finally, Skies Herald the Season of Return. A spirit with, man, it's, dude, again, I really, as much as I like that card, not just, again, I pulled 8 cards off the top and didn't get any defend. Yeah, none of this is defend, which is bad. So well, think about this. We know that this is the Slave Rebellion card. So I'm going to be able to kill that town, which I want to say I was brilliant enough to remember that, but probably forgot that. So now I only kind of need to get lucky with like a defend 2 with 2 fear cards. There's a chance we will be okay. We kind of need to be okay. Do I try to get another fear card is the question. Only have 2 card plays. This is definitely one of them. Wish I had one of those cards that card allowed me to take Blight away from the sands. Spirit with presence on target board may one of the destroyed presence gather up to 2 Dahan and push a Blight. That's not terrible. I just don't think it makes the most sense. See, screen disease into the wind usually targets another spirit. Obviously with this I can target myself. I'd just be basically playing this for the elements in a disease. So basically it's like pay 1 to add a disease to a land that you're already doing something in. So it means I could add a disease there, which wouldn't be terrible. Again, just need to get lucky with some fear cards. Alright, I do have the move on presence ability too, but I only have 4 presence on the board, which isn't great because I had to put 1 back on my track and I lost 2 last turn. So I'm going to take Scream Disease into the wind. That gives me 1 energy. And my 2 card plays are going to be Scream Disease into the wind and Unnerving Paul. Alright. So where's my elements at? I have 1 moon, 2 sky, and 3 waters. Do I want to move a presence during the growth phase before I keep moving on? No, because all my presence is where I have injured towns and cities. So we're just going to leave that there. Great. So Unnerving Pull, I'm going to generate a fear. These 2 are not going to be participating in Ravage. And then since I targeted that land with another power, I can add a disease there as well. I do have this, and I have this. So the same powers I had last time. Nope. I only have 2 waters, so I have only level 1 of Lost in the Swirling Haze. Okay. That's fine. We're going to go to the event card. What is it? Act surprised, everyone. It is Slave Rebellion. We're going to add the strife here. And then each invader with strife at the bottom, at the aid the uprising, the Dahan event. Invaders with strife take 1 damage per Dahan present. So that generates a fear. And then we add a Dahan because we destroyed the town. Cool. So now we draw another card. This gets replaced. We get so stages 1 and 2. After you resolve this, you draw another card and return this underneath the top 3 as if it was a setup. So 1, 2, 3, and that goes there. Farmers seek the Dahan for aid. Yikes. All right. So the Dahan are uncertain whether to teach the invaders farming techniques more in tune with the island's life. We have 2 options. We can spurn the invaders. So if we spurn the invaders on each board, we do 2 damage to Dahan on the land with towns or cities. We add a blight to a land with at least 2 towns or cities. And the towns or cities have -1 health to a minimum until the end of the turn. Or, We can add a town to a land with a Dahan. The next normal ravage becomes a build. Oh, I totally wasted that. So if I do that, remember normal ravage, it would basically be building twice in a row in sands. And that would be town, and that would be blight. That would be disease prevents build, and then town. I only have, and then city. And I have to add a town. I can't even do that. I can't even do it. Half the boards add disease to a land with both Dahan and invaders. Do 2 damage to Dahan there. I'm literally going to lose both those Dahan. I guess I could do it there. So I have to use the first option because of the additional loss condition because of France. So I'm going to do 2 damage to Dahan in a land with cities and towns. Adding a blight to a land with at least 2 cities and towns. I'm going to have to put it in 5. So I'm going to lose the benefit of that. But there, blights and cascades. So is what it is. And then cities and towns have -1 health to the end of the turn. Minimum 1. So this is down. It's only had 1 health anyway, but this city is now down to 1 health. So I'm going to put a reminder token here and here, and hopefully not forget that. Now half the board's rounding up. Add a disease to a land with both Dahan and invaders. I will add it here because I have to do 2 damage to Dahan, and I'm hoping that I get like defend 1 per Dahan, or even Dahan fight 1 each. Like the fear cards could really help me take care of that city. So the last fear cards were garbage, so hopefully these 2 are really, really helpful. So that will go there. Fear cards. All right, top 1. Skip the next normal build. I mean, that's fine. But if this plays the cascades, we're toasty toast. Toast my ghost. So we skip the next normal build. And the last one, each player adds a strife in a land with or adjacent to animals, beast. So that's that. Oh, those events are brutal. Yeah, so that is our first attempt at Shroud. So yeah, it's look, when you're relying on fear cards, the you're at the mercy of what they do. I mean, even I just anything. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I could add a strife here, and then they're gonna skip their explore and build there. So I would do that to remind me of this. But the yeah, this in the ravage action would it would be attacking 3. So it's going to blight, cascade. I have no more blight on the card, so I lose. In theory, had I still had 1 more blight, the Dahan would retaliate. It would kill that city. That's 2 fear. And then you get nothing happens here because of unnerving Paul. And then in the build, this would prevent. Well, nothing's happening in the build anyway. And then if the explore coastal lands, so they want an explorer there, you would get an explorer here and 2 explorers here and here. I feel fairly set up at that point because I have no more presence. Oh, it's so nuts. So these guys would all heal up, but it's still kind of working. I mean, we're earned 4 cards so far. No, we earned 5 cards so far because I still have this. So you kind of see how that engine starts to get going. I think you get enough of a sense on how Shroud works and just some of the difficulties involved in making him work. And just you need to get luckier, right? If I wasn't worried about the additional loss condition of France, I'm definitely I'm not going to choose the option I chose, right? You know, I just kind of let them build whatever. We'll deal with it later. I mean, but as it was, I'm like, well, I can't put a town on the board, so I'm left in this lose choice where it's like, well, do I take another blight off the card where blight I only have 3 blight to play with, or do I take a town off the card off of this little thing that the England thing that I use up here to keep my supply of towns visible. And I chose to save my amount of towns because I'm looking at, well, it's going to build twice. Now, had I known that we were skipping the next normal build, I would have just built the once with the ravage and not built with the actual build. And we're still alive. But yeah, that's actually an interesting game. If you play that out, if you played that out, this goes here. Let's see what happened if I did that, just for the sake. If I did the first option on that, I had 2 Dahan here. Blight, blight, blight. Presence, presence. City. Alright, if I chose the other option, 2 damage to Dahan, I had 3 Dahan here. And I had a Dahan here. Because this disease. So if I did the other one, I added a town to a land with Dahan. I could have added a town. Yeah, I mean, it would have been insane. I mean, you can't. I literally have 1 town left. And I'm going to say they're going to double build. It doesn't. I mean, I could have put this Dahan, that disease there, done this. But now, if it builds twice, and I don't even know if it's not coastal lands, I might be in a place where I have to blight more. Oh man, yeah, France has really got me all in knots here. So that's it. I mean, I think you're gonna see a high variance game with Shroud. You are super dependent on these fear cards cooperating. You know, every time you take a swing and a miss, like I did with these first 2 fear cards, that's going to be a really hard. That's a big hole to climb yourself out of. I mean, remember, look, like this is a game of serious escalation, right? On top on behalf of the adversary. So if you are not keeping them in control early, it's really hard to kind of get on top of it later. And one of the easiest ways, it's the ways you can't rely on, but when it works out, and there's definitely, I've had playthroughs, I think it was shifting memory, where I was like, well, I'm going to do this because there's enough fear cards that do this, or there's an event card that does that, and I was able to pull out a win because I relied on the fear cards, and I had 2 or 3 shots, and I pulled the card I needed. This is one of the situations where I'm like, you really need to rely on the fear cards with Shroud. It's a big part of how he's built. And then I took 2 shots, and my first 2 fear cards were both utter duds in a way that just was like, well, that's where am I going to go from there, right? I'm not sure. Again, I didn't get a defend card with the minor powers. So that kind of puts you in a weird spot. I do think my reasoning was pretty sound with what I did do. So I don't really second guess a lot of this playthrough. But I'm sure when I edit it, we'll take a look back and kind of see what happened. But yeah, you'll tend to have shorter games with Shroud. But when it works out, again, it's really powerful. I mean, you can definitely have a game where you can just, again, I annihilated Sweden in entire level 3, and I definitely beat both England and France. You're gonna you know, you'll just have games where it's just totally magical and you get the fear cards you need, and all of a sudden, you know, you're looking at the board, you're generating 4 or 5 fear every round, you get that energy, and then you're just a beast. I mean, you get the 3 card plays, and then you're getting up to the second level of Suffocating Shroud. You're doing 1 damage for each adjacent land. You're doing more damage to different invaders. You just have like the, you know, the invaders, like invader carcasses all over the land, just feeding you energy and feeding you fear. And that's what you live on. So I wanted these next fear cards are going to be what I needed, right? On each board, remove a town or explorer from a land with Dahan. That wouldn't have got me there. Each player has a strife in a land with presence. That would have been huge. We could have put a strife there. That would have definitely done it. Each player would gather an explorer into a land with cities or towns, or gather a town into a land with cities. Defend 2 in all lands would have definitely done it. So there were enough of them, just didn't get it. Choose a player, choose a different land with Dahan, 1 damage for Dahan, that would have done it. Each player removes a city or an explorer or town from a land with presence. So I guess I had 3 in the deck, just didn't have them in the right spot. But it is what it is. I will bemoan my loss on my own. I guess we'll kind of wrap this up. I'd love to hear your thoughts. These Jagged Earth spirits are so cool, and I just, as my channel has grown, I think I'm very aware of you know, of just wanting to really represent a spirit, and I think in a way this does that. You're gonna have games like this with Shroud, just like you're gonna have games like this with Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares, where things just kind of don't line up, and you're relying on variables like the fear deck and the event deck to make things happen. But you know, France might have been a bit ambitious. I might have wanted to go, you know, with level 4. You know, we'll see. But I think you could take Shroud versus you know, pretty much any of these adversaries at level 3 and have a decent shot at winning. The energy generation doesn't look like a lot, but you realize when you're gaining a card with 2 of your 3 growth options, that means, you know, you can be getting an energy here or there, and you should be getting up to, like, it was like land around 3. I got an energy at the end of when time passed. When you have this off the board, you're getting 2 energy around, so you actually can start amassing some energy. And again, if you're just going minor powers, you get up to that 3 or 4 card plays. And when I win, normally my board looks like that, because you get 2 presence a turn, so you can get to that by the 6th or 7th turn, and then all of a sudden you're just playing 3 or 4 cards, you're unlocking your innates, you're stacking damage, and then you see this idea of like, well, great, I have, you know, now when I really want to clear something out, man, if I have a city with its last life and 3 towns, well, fine, then I'll just do 1 damage to each invader with dissolving vapors, and boom, those are gone. That's 5 fear, right? So you're generating 5 to, you know, you're generating all your fear for destroying, and then you're still going to have 2 or 3 fear when time passes. Again, you're only on that race to 48, which really can add up pretty quick the deeper you get. But that is fine. I hope I have not disappointed anyone too much. We'll be back with Shroud for sure. I do want to give him another look on the other side of the equation, and kind of show an example of what happens when he comes together. So again, my list of what I'm going to do when we're done with all these spirits continues to grow. We went from, I want to get another vengeance on here, I want to get another lore on here, and now I want to get another Shroud on here. So look, we are doing the last spirit. I'm doing a live playthrough with Volcano. I do not have the date off the top of my head. You will want to go on my Patreon page and check out the upcoming schedule. I put a public post every month, and you can go on there and you can see when I'm doing certain things. My live playthroughs are 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every other Wednesday. I know that's a terrible time for people who are watching in Europe and whatnot, and I'm very sorry for that. Unfortunately, that is just the time that works best for my schedule, and I'm going to continue to do that. So again, live playthrough of Volcano. We will finish off all the spirits in style. I'll be doing a level 5. I'm not sure who yet. It is either going to be Sweden or Prussia, whoever I do not play in the live playthrough as many minds. And then we will come back and we'll start going back to some of the early spirits I featured. We'll start doing the scenarios. We will start doing the double board playthroughs. I might do a two-handed playthrough. I don't know. This game's crazy. There is endless content. I hope you like this video. Thank you for checking it out. I hope you still trust me to keep bringing it week in and week out with these playthroughs. And but you know what? Win rates are win rates for a reason. You don't win them all, and this one stings more than most. I had high hopes, but Shroud is still very, very cool, and I love how he's made me rethink about this game that we all love so much. So that's it. Until next time, happy gaming.